1962, Paradise, Kentucky. A NASA engineer visits his father's farm. Next door, a massive strip mining shovel is working an open-pit coal mine, the Bucyrus Erie Big Hog. 8-foot tracks, diesel engines in each set, a platform the size of a football field crawling across the Kentucky landscape on tank treads. The engineer goes back to Florida and tells his colleagues, because NASA has a problem. The Saturn V rocket is 363 feet tall and will weigh 6.5 million pounds, fully loaded. It has to be assembled vertically inside the vehicle assembly building, then moved upright to the launch pad 4 miles away, on a road with a 5% grade at the end. No vehicle on Earth can do that. The Florida weather makes it worse. You cannot build rockets on the pad like they do in New Mexico. Florida has hurricanes, lightning, and rain that can delay a launch for weeks. The rocket has to be assembled indoors and transported ready to fly. NASA needs to build something new, something inspired by a coal mine in Kentucky. What they build will become the largest self-powered land vehicle in the world. It will carry every Apollo mission to the launch pad, every space shuttle, and 60 years later, it will still be working, because nothing has ever been built to replace it. This is the Crawler Transporter. In July 1962, NASA approved the Crawler Transporter concept. They needed 2 of them. Bucyrus Erie, the company that built the Big Hog, seemed like the obvious choice. They were the only firm that had built self-propelled tracked vehicles at anything close to this scale. NASA moved toward a sole source contract. Then Marion Power Shovel of Ohio protested. They wanted to bid. NASA opened it up. 22 companies sent representatives to the procurement conference. Only 2 submitted proposals. Marion bid $8 million, Bucyrus Erie bid $11 million. Marion won. Then they did something audacious. They hired Philip Coering to manage the project. Coering was a Bucyrus Erie engineer. Marion poached the man who understood the competitor's crawler technology better than anyone, and put him in charge of building NASA's. By the time the contract was finished, the price had climbed past $11 million. But the machines worked. The engineering was built around one principle: keep the rocket vertical. A Saturn V standing on a mobile launcher platform weighed 12 million pounds. The combined load, rocket plus platform plus launch tower, had to stay level within 10 minutes of arc. That's less than 1/6 of a degree, about 1 foot of tilt at the top of the rocket, while moving over uneven ground, up a 5% ramp in wind. Marion designed a hydraulic jacking, equalization, and leveling system at each corner of the platform. Each side could be raised or lowered independently. The system adjusted continuously throughout the trip, compensating for every dip, grade change, and crosswind. The platform itself was the size of a baseball infield, 131 feet long and 114 feet wide, height adjustable from 20 to 26 feet off the ground. Underneath sat 8 tracks, 2 at each corner. Each track had 57 shoes. Each shoe weighed nearly 2,000 pounds. The whole vehicle weighed 6 million pounds empty. Power came from a diesel-electric drivetrain. 2 Alco 251C V16 diesel engines, producing a combined 5,500 horsepower, drove generators that fed 16 electric traction motors. The system was essentially locomotive technology bolted to a mining platform. The fuel tank held 5,000 gallons of diesel. The vehicle burned 1 gallon every 32 feet, which works out to 126 gallons per mile. At full load, the crawlers moved at 1 mile per hour. Unloaded, they could reach 2 miles per hour. The road they traveled on was engineered specifically for them, the crawlerway. It is 7 feet deep and surfaced with river rock from Alabama and Tennessee, chosen for its nearly spherical shape and low friction. NASA tested asphalt during construction and it proved too soft. Under 6 million pounds, it stuck. The river rock acted like millions of tiny ball bearings, allowing the crawler to steer without binding. No sparks either. The first crawler moved under its own power on January 23, 1965. Both were operational by early 1966. Parts were fabricated in Marion, Ohio, and shipped to Merritt Island, Florida, for final assembly. Problems surfaced almost immediately. In July 1965, during a test with a launch umbilical tower, metal fragments appeared on the road. Bearing races, rollers, and retainers from the traction support roller assembly had shattered under the load. Marion spent months redesigning the roller shafts and installing new sleeve bearings. The fix held. On August 26, 1967, a crawler carried a Saturn V to the launch pad for the first time. It was Apollo 4, the unmanned test flight that proved the rocket worked. Every Apollo mission after that rode to the pad on the same two machines: Apollo 8, Apollo 11, Apollo 13, every Saturn V and Saturn 1B through the Skylab and Apollo-Soyuz programs. The crawlers carried every piece of American space hardware that left the atmosphere from Kennedy Space Center for the next 46 years. When the Space Shuttle program began, NASA did not replace the crawlers. They were modified: new driver cabs, upgraded motor control centers, new radiators and ventilation. The shuttle stack weighed about 12 million pounds on the mobile launcher platform, roughly the same as a Saturn V configuration. The crawlers handled it. From 1981 to 2011, they transported all 135 shuttle missions to the pad. When hurricanes threatened, the crawlers carried the shuttle back to the vehicle assembly building for protection. When problems were found before launch, the crawler returned the stack to the vehicle assembly building for repairs. Back and forth, 4 miles each way, 1 mile per hour, for 30 years. Then the shuttle retired. For the first time in their existence, the crawlers had nothing to carry. It was 2011. They were 46 years old. They had logged over 2,300 miles. NASA faced a decision. The Space Launch System was coming. It would be bigger than the shuttle and heavier. The Space Launch System with its mobile launcher would weigh 18 million pounds, 50% more than the shuttle configuration. NASA could design a new transport vehicle, or it could upgrade the ones it already had. They chose the upgrade, not because the crawlers were the best option, but because building a replacement would cost billions and take a decade. The crawlers existed. They worked. They just needed to be stronger. NASA designated Crawler Transporter 2 as the primary vehicle for Artemis. Crawler Transporter 1 became the backup. The upgrade took 4 years and cost roughly $50 million. New generators were installed, doubled from 700 kilowatts to 1,500 kilowatts. Reinforced deck supports were added. Roller bearings were redesigned and rated for the heavier loads. New brakes, new hydraulic components, new electronics, new cables. When it was done, they called it the Super Crawler, with an 18 million pound capacity. Same tracks, same basic frame, same Alco diesel engines from 1965. The shoes are the weak point now. Each of the 456 shoes across 8 tracks weighs nearly a ton. Under the increased SLS loads, the crawler loses 2 to 3 shoes per trip. They shatter or crack. Replacement shoes take up to a year to prototype, cast, and inspect. NASA currently has 114 on order. The shoes were originally cast by Marion Power Shovel. Marion was acquired by Bucyrus International in 1997. Bucyrus was bought by Caterpillar in 2011. The original tooling is long gone. New shoes come from various foundries, each batch requiring custom specifications to match a design from 1964. On March 17, 2022, CT2 carried the fully stacked SLS and Orion spacecraft to launchpad 39B for wet dress rehearsal testing. It was the first time a crawler had rolled a launch vehicle east to the pad since 2011. On November 16, 2022, Artemis 1 launched. CT2 carried the mobile launcher back to the VAB afterward. In March 2023, Guinness World Records officially certified CT2 as the heaviest self-powered vehicle in the world. By October 2024, CT2 had logged over 2,500 miles since 1965. And it is not done. Artemis 2, the first crewed lunar mission since Apollo, is scheduled for 2026. CT2 will carry it to the pad, then Artemis 3, then Artemis 4. NASA's current plans extend the Artemis program through the 2030s. The crawler will be needed for all of it. The crawler transporter was not designed to last 60 years. It was built for Apollo, a program that ran from 1967 to 1972. 5 years of active launches. NASA expected to replace the crawlers with whatever came next. Instead, what came next kept fitting on the same platform. The shuttle fit. The SLS fits. The road is the same road. The pad is the same pad. The VAB is the same building. And at the center of it all, a machine designed by a strip mining company in Ohio, inspired by a coal shovel in Kentucky, assembled on a Florida island in the mid-1960s, keeps doing the one thing it was built to do. It carries rockets to the launch pad, 1 mile per hour, burning 126 gallons per mile, with 30 people walking alongside and 2,000-pound shoes cracking under the load. It is slow, expensive, old, and completely irreplaceable. Most machines in this series failed, broke, or disappeared. The crawler transporter did the opposite. It outlived the program it was built for. Then it outlived the next one. Now it is carrying hardware for a third. There are exactly 2 of them on Earth, and there is no plan to build a third. When CT-2 finally stops, there is nothing waiting to replace it. The slowest vehicle on the planet is also, somehow, the one NASA can least afford to lose. If stories like this interest you, subscribe. We cover the machines that worked, failed, or quietly outlived everything around them.